what to anticipate.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, something magnificent occurs.
Right. Right. So, uh, we're a lot of us are going to be in church on Sunday morning for the Mother's Day celebration. And then
Right.
after that, a lot of families get together and the children take the mothers out and the fathers take their wives out. So it's going to be interesting. My family's trying to get together or come together to talk about having a meal together as a family. So I'm looking forward to that happening for us as a family. So could you talk to us a little bit about how special it is to be a mother, and could you talk about how many children you have, and let us know something about your family?
Wow. Well, I have 5 children, 3 sons and 2 daughters. Uh, they were all born naturally um, when I lived in Massachusetts. One of my daughters married someone that came from her class and originated from New Mexico. So she lives in New Mexico and periodically flies out to Massachusetts to visit with me. And she stays at my unit with me, and then she visits her siblings, her brothers and her sister.
Right. So how
And
how
and
often does she have a chance to come to Massachusetts?
well, last year she came twice.
Twice. Okay.
Yeah, which is very good. And because she's concerned that my age might send me to Jesus sooner.
Right.
And so she wants to make sure that she gets to see me.
Good.
I feel perfectly fine right now, even though I've been in the hospital several times and I've had surgery several times.
Yeah.
It's all been successful. Um, one of my sons is having surgery the day after Mother's Day because he's got a problem with his hip.
Right.
And he's walking on a cane, and he's my son, and he's in bad shape. So I took him out to lunch yesterday, and we ate at a very nice restaurant, and he ordered something very spicy that he wanted to eat. That was very good. So he had a good time with that.
Was it
And
Italian food that you had?
yes, it was Italian food, yes. But
Wow.
my son is Italian and Polish
Okay.
because his father was Polish. And so that was what I was doing with him because I was concerned about his surgery. And of course, I am going to pray during his surgery, which is the day after Mother's Day.
Right.
My other son, Joe, has had a problem with his back as well. However, he and his wife I've traveled to Central America right now. They're gone for a week. So that's a nice thing for them to do because most of the time when they visit with me once a week, she does my documentation, she pays my bills, she prepares checks to be paid,
Right.
and he does work in my unit for me. He vacuums and he does other things so that I don't have to hire anybody to do anything because he takes care of cleaning my unit. And my other son doesn't visit very often because he's still working and he's working for a contractor in Boston.
Right.
So he goes out to work in the nighttime and doesn't come back until the middle of the night. So, and my daughter occasionally takes care of a grandchild. And you have talked with my number one granddaughter, that's Jenny.
Yes. Could you tell people about Jenny, the swimming? What happened at the swimming competition?
Oh yeah, she took the test for the Special Olympic swimming contest, and she won yesterday. I don't remember what the actual score was, but she did win. So that means that she is able to swim and represent her organization for Special Olympics.
That is, I was, as I shared with you yesterday, I watched her win that race, and I was just so amazed at how fast she was swimming. She knocked out she beat all the competition that she had.
I know, and she's fabulous considering she doesn't swim too many times before the training is required. But when she's required to do the training, swim, she goes fast. She does well.
That I found it to be so amazing to see the speed with which she won that race without it. Just like it wasn't difficult for her at all. And I know if I had jumped into that water with her, she would have beat me. She would have won that race against me.
Yeah, that's amazing. The other thing that you might remember is that when you all came to, some of you came to my party, that my son had for me that had 58 people visiting me.
Yeah.
She took the pictures.
Yes.
She took pictures of everybody that was there who had asked to have their picture taken.
Right, and you she showed us the book that she put with her. She would have.
Yeah, she and her mother produced a book that all the pictures that she took were posted in this hardcover book. It was wonderful.
Simply amazing.
And I brought that book to the church for you to take a look at. And unfortunately, Pastor Karen wasn't there to see it. So I'll probably bring it this week. If this is a Sunday, she'll be there.
Right. I believe she'll be there. I hope she'll be there. She's having some surgery, but I think she'll be able to be there on Sunday.
Okay, well, let me know, because I know that she didn't come the Sunday that I brought the book.
Right.
She wasn't there. And then I didn't bring it the next Sunday when she did come to the church.
Right.
And she did some preaching. And but just let me know, because there's a couple of pictures of her in the book as well.
Okay. Well, that was amazing, because she actually I keep calling your granddaughter. She put that booklet together, or had it put together, correct?
Yes, she did. She did.
Her design, what she wanted, how she wanted it.
She did, and you know that she lives in a group home with 3 other folks, and she's the only person that lives in that house that has a job. So she works 3 days a week at CVS, and she also works another day a week where she's a volunteer at the Elder Center, and another time she is a volunteer at the Respite Center.
So how does that make you feel as a grandmother? Because you traveled with her too.
Yes, I have traveled on a cruise ship with her 60 people in her organization for one trip, and for another trip with her mother, and another trip with people at the church when Pastor Barbara decided she wanted travel.
Right.
I think there were 10 or 11 of us that went, and I took Jenny. And it's just wonderful. And she would like to travel, take another trip with me now. So because it's starting to get warm, and
Correct. Correct.
that gives her that idea.
So, are you looking forward to taking that trip with her?
Absolutely,
And
yes.
do you
I'm
know where you
always.
want to go ahead?
I don't know where we're going, but wherever I choose to go, she will be very happy, and she will be very pleased to walk with me and make sure that I get all of the assistance I need as wherever we go.
Is there any part of the world that you especially want to see?
Well, I've been to Africa, I've been to Italy, I've been to Central America, um, I've been to the Bahamas twice. I don't know. I mean, there's many places. Oh, I've been to Canada as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these are on cruise ships with Jenny. So there are different things that I've done. And when I went to Italy to see where my grandparents originated,
Yeah.
um, Jenny came too, and she took pictures of every place we located. She's incredible.
Yeah.
She's incredible. I'm very proud of her. She's also of my 5 grandchildren, 5 great grandchildren, and 2 great great grandchildren.
Yeah.
She's the only grandchild that calls me on a regular basis every 3 days to ask me how I am.
And she checks up with you on Friday night when we have the prayer meetings.
Yes, she does. Because she remembers meeting people from the church, and she just loves the fact that some of them give me a message to give to her,
Right.
as you do.
Right.
Just say hi to Jenny for me, that kind of thing. She's thrilled.
Okay. So, did you go through all of your children? Did you finish going through all 5 of them?
Well, my number 1 son has 2 children and 2 grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
My number 2 son has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 children and a few grandchildren. I can't keep all the numbers. And my next daughter, I'm going by the when they were born.
Yeah.
My next daughter is married to someone who is a child, an Irish child he's 12 in his family. 12 in his family.
Yike.
And that very nice. He's a very nice guy. Very nice guy, my son-in-law. And they have 5 children. And then the daughter in New Mexico had 1 child.
Okay.
And she has a granddaughter who lives in Oregon. That's the great great grandchild.
Okay.
And my youngest son, who's still working, is married to the same wife for many years, and they have no children.
Mm-hmm.
But they have their own house in the town that he grew up in.
So you got a lot. How many? So when you think in terms of the number of grandchildren and children, what's that number?
Oh, I never total it that way. I keep it different by children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's too difficult to put it all together, because some of them are very young.
So for me, I don't always remember my children's birthdays. Not the birthdays, but their ages. So
Mm-hmm.
so I have to write it down on a sheet of paper and keep that sheet of paper in my wallet. So
Yeah.
when people ask me the question, because I mean, the only thing I can keep straight is Karen's birthday, her age, and her date of birth, and mine. But when I go to the children, I can't keep all that in my head anymore. So
I know it. I can't either because there's so many changes. All of my children have they're either built their own home or they bought a home that they've added some space to, and they've just done a lot of work.
right, right,
And it's hard to keep track of all the work that everybody has done. But I have been every place that each of my children is living now. I've
right,
been
right.
at their home,
Okay, so let me.
except for the one in New Mexico.
Oh,
I'm hoping to get there eventually.
oh, that would be nice. Let me switch you then and go to my pet project right now, which is the active shooters.
Yes.
So, talk to me a little bit about what you know about. Have you ever taught an active shooters seminar?
Oh, well, it wasn't a seminar, but it was a class. I actually taught a regular class of how to teaching people how to handle guns after they were approved by the state
Mm-hmm.
uh, to be able to come to the class.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that came to the class were police officers, pastors, preachers, teachers, doctors, dentists, lawyers, and they all had permission to come into the classroom
Right.
where I would show them how to pick up their gun, how to shoot the gun properly, how to be careful with it, how to put it back down again, and to how to hand it to someone else and make sure that all of the bullets were removed.
So okay, so that was basically not so much a active shooters training. It was a training to teach people how to use weapons. Correct? Is that the difference?
I know, but I actually showed them how to shoot it as well.
Right. But you didn't teach them how to barricade a door, how to run, hide. They call it. It's just three words:
No,
run,
no,
hide,
no,
and fight. If you can't do any of the
no, I
other
didn't
two.
do that. I
Right.
didn't do that.
So this
No.
protocol is for me. This is all new to me. The protocol
Mm-hmm.
and the federal government, the city government, and schools. They all teach run if you can, hide if you can, and if you can't do either of those two, you've got to fight. And so that's what the protocol that's going to be taught when the Boston Police come to our church. Why do you think
Mm.
it's important, Louise, for a church, a synagogue, or mosque? Why do you think the church folk need to be prepared?
I think that it's important for people to know that they can do something like that and that they don't have to feel ashamed to want to be in such a class. They shouldn't feel uncomfortable going to a class to learn how to use a gun, understand something about a gun if they go hunting, if they use a rifle for some reason that relates to hunting,
Yeah.
and those are positive things. But if something negative happens with the gun, they've got to learn about how to protect themselves and their families as well.
Yeah. 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 Um, I think that when we think in terms of educational institutions, whether it's colleges, junior high, senior high, elementary schools, they're all targets. And
Mm.
the churches are also targets. And the police department, there's just so many different targets. And all of us should be in the process of having our institutions trained by the law enforcement community, we shouldn't be training our own people. And I as a pastor, I do not feel that we are ready in the event of an active shooter coming into our church. And then the other thing is that people say, well, if you have people in your church who carry their weapons to church, you are ready. But there's also needs to be a protocol. If a civilian has to pull out their gun and shoot somebody, there's going to be some kind of a protocol, because you have to explain what you did and how you did it. Otherwise, you could find yourself in a jam or in trouble. Correct?
Right. It would be important for people who come to our church on a regular basis, if something occurs where a gun is used, they need to know that you know something about it as the pastor of the church, that you know what's going on, why it went on, and what it means. And the fact that you have not used a gun yourself, you don't own a gun, you were not in my class, that tells me that you are an example of a positive pastor who wants to teach the people of his church and his neighbors to be able to come to the class and learn something that they should learn in a proper way.
Right. To me, it's very important, and I do not, I can't explain why I feel that this is on me so strong that we need to prepare our church. And originally, my goal was to prepare the other pastors in the city, but it's going to take too long to try to organize them, because we do not have, in my opinion, a very active groups of pastors that meet on a regular basis, so that all you need to do is go to that group, say you're having something, and they would assure that the other pastors would be involved. But we don't have that in our city, of a very large active group of pastors. So I need to go and train. I'll have our people trained. We need to be trained. And then
Right.
invite any of the pastors, if they wanted to come in and see the training, they could watch it and then decide whether or not they want something like this for their church.
Right. And they could also find out where the class is, and they might want to take a class.
Right, but right now it's my understanding that the best entity to go to is to go to the Boston Police. I'm sure you can go to a private agency that would charge you for teaching your corporation, teaching your institution. Well, the Boston Police do not charge. It's a service, but they only provide the training for people who are Boston residents. You have to be a Boston resident.
Yes, that's true.
So,
Yes.
could you explain
Yeah.
why?
Well, the reason they have to be Boston residents is because if they apply for the registration to take the training,
Yeah,
they have to live in Boston.
right.
And then when they're ready, after they've taken the training and they're ready to say they've completed the training and now they're able to carry their gun or have their gun at home, or whatever the proper use for them is, it has to be related to the fact that they come from Boston,
Right.
because the registration will be given to them from Boston.
I see. That makes sense. So I'm wondering, and I don't know. I'm meeting with the Boston police representatives on Tuesday. I've been talking to a couple police, two police officers about the training. And I'll be meeting with the person who's setting it up. There are things that we need to have, which is a projector, an overhead projector. We have to have that because right, and we have that. I'd like to be able to actually, film it so that we have a record, and
Recording stopped.
we could show it to some of the people in our fellowship that actually could not make the event. And we really need I really want um, a, 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 a large attendance, mandatory attendance of our church leaders, right? Our deacons, our elders, and I have to have it during the day. For I know that some of the members of our church should not be driving at night, so we need to have it during the day, so that we can make, or the afternoon, so that we can get as many of our people out. It needs to be done not on a work day. You can't have it during the work day because most of our people are employed. They'll be working.
Right.
So it sounds to me that the best day to do this and the best time is on a Saturday in the afternoon. Do you agree? Disagree?
Right. I agree, but I have a little problem with your suggestion that pictures are taken of the people who participate.
No, it's not the people who participate. It's the instructor. Most of the you can go online today now, and you can actually see trainings. They have trainings online now, and
Mm-hmm.
usually they film only the trainer, what the trainer is saying. Now, and I'm going to talk to them about the possibility because I'd like to have that training in our archives so that we can show people what they taught. They do not show people in the crowd. You can hear their voices, but they don't put. None of them that I've seen has put the camera on the people in
Right,
the crowd.
right. Well, that's I wanted to clarify that comment that was said earlier.
Right, right. Well, I'm
Okay.
really looking forward to it, Louise. I think it's for people in our we have a security team in our church, and they are very well adept at protecting
Mm-hmm.
themselves and their family. But we've got to help other people who are not karate instructors or other people who do not carry weapons. We now need to utilize their expertise after they're taught to help protect the people in our church. I think that's so, Louise, is so important to me that
Well,
that we're
the
protecting
the
them.
other yeah, the other thing too is that sometimes when a father gets old enough and their children are old enough to apply for some kind of training to manage a gun of some sort, the father may not have known that that was about to happen. And that would be very important for him to know about what his adult children were now doing.
Right. Louise, do they have classes that actually teach people? It's one thing to own a gun. It's another thing
Hmm.
to be trained to use the gun.
Yes,
But
yes.
the training has to have a two-prong approach. One, how to shoot. So that's important, right? How to shoot and how to
No,
handle.
first you get registered to take the class. Then that because the police have already checked your history.
Right.
And then you come to the class and you learn how to handle a gun properly so that you don't shoot it accidentally.
Right. So handling the gun is important. Right.
And then you have to, you can begin shooting it because there's a range in
Correct.
the that's part of the classroom, and you can actually learn how to
A
shoot.
two-prong approach.
And then when you're ready to, and it depends on how many weeks you take the course. And once you complete it, then the instructor can sign your registration.
Yes.
And I know when one of the things that I did was to go to Moon Island to use that range.
Well, so let's go back. So a person needs to learn how to actually use the gun, But
Right.
again, knowing how to use it. But to me, what's equally important, if not more, is when to use it. Because just because somebody's hassling you, bothering you, making you mad, and you have a weapon, that's not a reason to take it out and use it. First of all, it's not a reason to take it out and brandish it in front of somebody,
Right.
because
Right.
that's illegal, right? To threaten
That
people.
we've seen that happen in the news.
Yeah,
That's happened in the news
yeah,
where someone pulled out a gun in Texas and were shooting it in their front yard, and they were asked to stop using it because it was disturbing their baby,
right.
and they just said, I'm doing whatever I want to do. And when they went back into their house, this guy with the gun went into their house and shot 5 people, including a 9-year-old.
Louise, who does that? Who does something like that? What kind of what kind of a mind problem? What emotional issue does a person like that have?
Yeah, it's someone that's already all probably in trouble with the police about something they've already done that was incorrect anyway.
Well, they said that this person was an immigrant and has been deported 4 times and came back.
Hmm.
But if someone says to you, "Please stop shooting a weapon," and you become angry to the level that you go into their home and start shooting the family, I've never. That to me goes beyond any logic that I can conceive of, other than this person is emotionally in
Yeah,
trouble.
me too. And I've known about using a gun and teaching how to use a gun for many years. And I have not understood why anyone would do something like that.
Well, it's my understanding, Louise, that this person was apprehended either last night or today, so they're in custody.
Yes, yes,
And
yes, that did happen.
right.
They found him because someone in the house that he was hiding made a call to the police.
Well, I find that to be interesting because in some of the published reports that I read and saw, they said that they were not going to reveal where the information came from. So, did you see that somewhere, or is that an assumption?
I heard that they received a phone call, but they didn't give a name or show a picture of anyone. They didn't say if they owned the house or lived in the house. They just said they got a phone call.
Right, right. So, there are people who have weapons, Louise, who should not have them in their possession. And when they purchase the weapons, they have to fill out a background form. Could you explain what that is?
Yes, they have to fill out their name, their address, their training, and the police do a check them up to make sure that they haven't been arrested in the past, that they haven't done anything incorrectly in
Yeah,
their adult life.
yeah. But again, it's not showing us, it's not telling us enough to say this person shouldn't have a gun, correct?
Should have a gun?
No, no. The background is that called the background check when they have to fill out the form?
Yeah, it's a background check,
Okay,
yes.
but the background checks are not giving enough information for the person selling the gun to say, I really shouldn't be selling this person a gun. Because it can't go into, you can't ask questions about a person's mental health, correct? On a form.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
You
so,
can.
like, what kind of questions can they ask on a form?
Well, I don't remember what the questions were when I had my background check, but I do know that right now I have not had anything recent that I was aware of. And because of my age and because of my hospitalization, I have given my guns to my children,
Mm-hmm.
my adult sons, and I have no guns myself. So I do not have any idea right now what the questions might be.
But my concern is, and I don't know because I have never seen the questions, and I guess I'm sure I can go on Facebook and look at them. But my concern is that gun sellers are still selling guns to people who shouldn't have them.
Right.
But the document that people, the application that's for the background check that's being filled out is either not thorough enough, or it's not getting to the root of the concerns that should prompt a seller of guns to say, I'm sorry, I can't sell it to you." Because when we
Well, the seller of guns doesn't really go that far because they want to sell the gun. So that's more, that's of greater interest to them, is to sell the product rather than to get the detail information.
I know, but can't the federal government, and I know what's going on, but I'll say it anyway, can't the federal government create a questionnaire that gets to the root of the question that they're really asking? Should this person have possession of a gun? And I know the answer to that is that the government doesn't want to do that. Is that the issue?
Yeah, I've heard it both ways. According to where the gun store is.
Explain when you say it goes both ways.
Well, some gun stores they try to be accommodating with the police department and the laws and the regulations, and others are more interested in selling their product than they are in doing the registration properly.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's still going on.
Well, I am really troubled by hearing about these about these shootings, the active shooters, because it seems that, Louise, they are doing a more in-depth planning to kill children and adults than information goes on that sheet to sell the gun to the person.
I know it. That's sad. And sometimes they're able to obtain guns that are in their houses if their parents had the guns, and then the parents have died, and the adult is able to take that gun and start using it. That happens too.
Right. Well, we've seen so many stories of gun owners. They say, whose gun did this person use? Many times it's their own gun, but we've had a number of stories, like the 6-year-old child who went to school with a gun and shot the teacher. That was the mother's gun, and it
Yes.
apparently
Yeah.
wasn't put away secure enough, right?
She didn't put it where it was supposed to go, and the kid knew where it was, so he just picked it up and took it.
I mean, what kind of a child takes a gun to school, 6 years old, and knows how to shoot it? Louise knew how to shoot it, knows how to pull the trigger,
I
and
know it. That's incredible.
and use the gun to attack their teacher, so that child, as even though they were very young, that child knew what they were doing.
Right. And that was wrong. That should not have happened.
So, what are some of the answers, Louise? You used to own guns. You used to train people. What are some of if you were in charge? If you were Massachusetts, the czar for the whole gun purchasing, what would you do?
What would I do about what?
Um, Upgrading the document that people have to fill out, making it more difficult for people to get guns the way that they're getting them? How would you
Oh,
structure?
I would want to work with the police department that was providing the registration for the people who were coming to my class.
Yeah.
So I would want to have conversations with them, so that they knew what I was looking for, and they would tell me whatever they were able to tell me. They might not tell me everything, but they might tell me that Joe Smith should not be in my class.
Well, again, have you ever had a class where you looked at your students, listened to your students, and you said to yourself, that person shouldn't have a gun? Have you ever said that under your breath?
Yes, well, I've actually said it before I allowed them into the class.
And what triggered your thinking that this person should not have a weapon? What did it?
Well, I told the director of the training school that this person should not be in the class, and they did something about it, passed it on to the police, and I was not identified to the student who was told they could not be in the class.
Could you tell me what they did that made you suspicious and concerned?
Oh, because they walked in and they had a gun on their hip, and they were not supposed to. They were supposed to bring the gun in and put it in a locker in the area.
Uh-huh.
We provided everyone, all the students, with a locker with their name on it.
Right. So again, our law talks about concealing the gun, correct?
About what?
Massachusetts law talks about concealing the weapon, that you it shouldn't be out for people to see.
Yeah, they don't have to show it, which they can in some other states, like
Right.
Texas.
Right, but that was the violation that you saw that made you concerned about
Right.
this person. They're wearing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, I was an instructor, and I didn't carry my gun in a way that people could see it when I got in my car and drove home.
So did you just put yours in your bag or in your
No, I had it on my hip, but I wore something over
I see.
that covered it.
I see. Right.
Yeah.
Something you could see on a lot of advertising agencies, whether it's social media or just something that comes to you in the mail. They're trying to sell, or they are selling, all types of gun holders that you can wear around your back or closer to your arm, where it can't even be seen that you have a weapon. And again,
Right. I had a place that I carried. My gun was on the front.
your gun was on
I
the
didn't
front.
I didn't wear it on my hip. I wore it on my front.
You must have been something walking with a gun. You must have been.
Well, people didn't know. At the time, my children were too young to be involved with it, so I didn't tell them about it.
Right.
And I never told anyone I worked with what I was doing. I mean, I was working for the state at the time, but I didn't tell them about what I was doing as a trainer.
Yeah, you've had a lot of experience in training people, not just guns, but you've trained people in many other areas, correct?
I've trained them in how to use the money that we have given them to be able to provide the proper identification
Yeah.
at each of the programs that we've given them money for.
Yeah.
So I have traveled all over the Commonwealth. I've gone all the way to the western part of the state,
Yeah.
all the way to the northern part, to the south. I've gone I've taken the ferry to go to one of the islands,
Yes.
and I've never identified by name or specific location where I've been.
You have done a lot, Louise. I've got to give you
Mm.
credit for that. And I mean, have you ever thought about sitting and writing a book about your history?
I have
Something like
thought
that?
about it, but I'm not sure that I really want to talk about some of the things we talked about in the broadcast today,
Yeah.
because I'm just not sure I want anyone to think that I have guns where I live. I don't.
Right.
I don't have any guns now.
I have been writing off and on for about 3 years now. Little things when I'm motivated in a book that I'm trying to write, and
Mhm.
I received a call this week that people want to talk to me about my work at Chevu and the things that I've done in the city, and
Mhm.
and and I decided I wasn't going to do it, and because I'm writing now, and I want all of that. You keep giving it out to everybody. I want it all to
Mhm.
be contained in what I'm writing, so that I can attract people to want to actually
Right.
buy it. If I keep giving, people want my videos, they want anything in writing, and people talk to you very nice, when they talk to you, but they want something, and
Mhm.
I've decided to stop talking to people, and finish my book, so I have something to say to them.
Mm. Well, I still have requests from individuals who want me to recommend them for a license.
Right.
Um, right now, it's happened recently, and I have interviewed them and passed the information on to the police department in their
Mm-hmm.
name,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get it or they don't get it.
So you're still recommending people that that they would be,
Yes,
yeah.
and so that means that the police still have a record they still have my record.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's okay with me. I don't mind, because I, it's not a problem.
Well, I'm sure it's amazing that people are still coming to you and asking for
Hmm.
a recommendation or approval for something like that. That's good.
Well, it's only people who know that I have done some training, and now that I've done the broadcast, I'm probably going to hear from others.
Haha. Well, we have about 5 minutes left. Anything else you want to recommend to me as I go forward with this training? Anything that I should talk to the police about? Should the training be in the sanctuary or in Buttery Hall? Um, I know the training is going to be about 2 hours. Are there any other thoughts you have about the training that I need to
Well,
bring
I
into my
was I
meeting?
was thinking that if depending upon the number of people that were coming to the class, I might recommend that it be in Buttery Hall instead of the sanctuary,
And tell me why.
because you could line up the chairs the way they might be in the classroom for the gun training,
Right.
and you could do that in Buttery Hall, but not in the sanctuary.
I see. And the other thought that I have about the where we should have it, the sanctuary would be one of the main places that an active shooter would want to come into, right? Not in any other parts of the building, but it's the sanctuary to catch people off guard.
Right.
So
They'd want to come in the
right.
the door in the back. Yeah.
So I would think that a trainer would want to have something like that inside of sanctuary so that they could talk about this is your sanctuary, this is your balcony,
Well,
these are the
that's,
exit doors?
yeah, that's different. That's different than the class I was referring to. That would be something specific, training related to the idea that you might have that someone would come in that door.
Right. Well, so that's something that I have to think about that because
Mhm.
if they're in Buttery Hall, there's less likelihood that people would be coming into about Buttery Hall to disturb a service. And so, but again, I'm sure that if the instructor saw the sanctuary ahead of time, and if we were in Buttery Hall, they could reference still the same exits and everything. They could still give the information, although we're not in the sanctuary. Correct?
Well, what they could do is they could move the class out of Buttery Hall and into where the doors are that we're thinking of now.
Right.
You could
Well,
move the class in.
well, it's a lot to think about. So I'll make sure I share the final recommendations on the training so that
Mhm.
people can help me think this through
Right,
so that we have the best trainer and the trainer has the correct information to give us what we need. Because the bottom line is
right.
we want to save people's lives, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, it's time for you. Station ID is coming up in 1 minute and 19 seconds, so it's time for you to say goodbye.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing the heavy duty topic to the broadcast today because it was your idea to discuss it. And so I want to thank you for that and for being the co-host as usual. I appreciate everything you do and say. And I also want to thank you for making it possible for me to do the broadcast from my home while you're doing it from the studio. That's really exciting to me. I appreciate that. I also am looking forward to whatever we do next week that's a little bit different than the topic was this week. So I would like to say goodbye to everyone who's listening, to all of the people who are watching and listening and right now, but for those who will watch or listen to this broadcast at another time, which is possible,